The reason Ann-Margret still won't watch this episode. In 1964, she filmed. Ann-Margret was born on April 28, 1941, in Valjaben, Sweden. Her full name is Ann-Margret Olsen. She moved to the United States with her family when she was 5 years old and grew up in Wilmette, Illinois, in a traditional Swedish home. From a very young age, Ann-Margret loved being on stage, often dance and sing for friends and family. Because she loved acting so much, she went to Northwestern University to study it formally and start preparing for what would become an amazing and varied career in show business. Ann-Margret first appeared in Hollywood movies in the early 1960s. Her lively screen presence caught people's attention right away. Her big break came when she played Kim McCuffey in the 1963 musical film Bye Bye Birdie. Her sultry voice and lively performance made her an instant star. Some people called her the next big thing, and she quickly became well known. Her popularity grew even more with movies like Viva Las Vegas 1964, in which she starred with Elvis Presley. On and off the screen you could feel how well they got along. The movie became an important part of pop culture during that time, and Ann-Margret became a real sex icon and talented musician. But Ann-Margret was always a lot more than just pretty. As her career went on, she always looked for more difficult and dramatic parts to show how deep and varied she was. She was nominated for an Academy Award and received a lot of praise for her role as a woman struggling with being emotionally vulnerable and the complicated nature of love in the 1971 film Carnal Knowledge. She then got another nomination for Tommy, 1975, the movie version of The Who's rock opera, in which she played a role that was both brave and hard on the body. These roles showed how brave and emotional she was as an actress, which shut up people who thought she was just pretty. Ann-Margret wasn't just great in movies, she was also great on stage and TV. In the 1970s and 1980s, her amazing shows in Las Vegas made her known as one of the best live performers of her time. With her trademark red hair, sequined clothes, and boundless energy, she would rule the stage with a mix of sexiness, wit, and discipline that would leave people gasping for air. During her career, she won a number of Golden Globes and an Emmy for her contribution to television. Notably, her moving performance in 1983's Who Will Love My Children earned her praise from critics and a nomination for an Emmy. Ann-Margret has been admired for many years, not only for her looks and skills, but also for being kind, professional, and able to change herself. Even when she was older, she kept acting. In later years she was in TV movies, dramas and comedies, and her charisma and emotional honesty often stole the show. She's worked with famous actors like Jack Nicholson, John Wayne, Steve McQueen, and Walter Matthau, and the fact that she's still popular shows how well she can connect with people of all ages. Ann-Margret has had some hard times in her life. In the 1970s she broke her jaw and several bones in her face in a fall that almost killed her during a live performance in Lake Tahoe. It was impressive how determined she was to get better and start performing again. She had a lot of surgery and rehab, which showed not only how brave she was physically, but also how much she loved her job. Her ability to keep going even when things got tough made fans and coworkers admire her even more. In her long and varied career, Ann-Margret gave one of the most praised and moving performances in the 1984 TV movie, A Streetcar Named Desire, which was based on Tennessee Williams' famous 1947 play of the same name. This production, led by John Ehrman, was a brave reinterpretation of the Pulitzer Prize-winning drama. It brought the play's complicated and often tragic characters to life on TV with more energy and depth. The most important thing about this adaptation was how beautifully Ann-Margret played Blanche Dubois, a weak, faded Southern belle who holds on to false ideas of grandeur and is haunted by a painful past full of loss and heartbreak. Ann-Margret played a role that required a wide range of emotions, from vulnerability and desperation to bravado and sensual charm, and she did so with haunting accuracy. No small feat to play a part that became famous, thanks to Vivien Leigh in the 1951 movie version. Still, Ann-Margret gave the character her own unique take, and she was praised for her emotional depth, subtleties, and honest performance. Blanche was both likable and crazy, graceful and falling apart. She was a complicated character whose fall into mental illness was shown in a way that broke my heart. There was a strong ensemble cast around her. Treat Williams played the mean and bossy Stanley Kowalski, Beverly D'Angelo played Blanche's younger sister Stella, who was torn between love and loyalty, and Randy Quaid, Erica John, and Fred Sadoff played supporting roles that made the story more interesting. Many people gave the TV movie great reviews, and it went on to get many more awards, winning 4 Emmy Awards, and proving that professionally made TV shows could be just as good as the best movies in theaters. A prestigious Golden Globe Award was given to Ann-Margret for her unforgettable performance. It was the first of many awards she would receive during her long and successful career. This part was a big step forward for her as an actress, showing once more that she was more than just a pretty performer. She was a serious dramatic force that could take over the screen with both strength and grace. Ann-Margret most recently came back to movies in 2017 in the heist comedy Going in Style, which was a modern remake of the beloved 1979 movie of the same name. The movie, which was directed by actor and director Zach Braff, was a cute mix of comedy, social commentary, and old-fashioned friendship. In a world of economic uncertainty and corporate greed, the story is about 3 lifelong friends and retirees, played by legendary actors Morgan Freeman, Michael Caine, and Alan Arkin, who lose their money when their pensions are suddenly taken away because of shady business practices. Because they are desperate and want to do what's right, the 3 come up with a crazy plan to rob the bank that put them in such bad financial shape. This turns the movie into an unusual caper that is both funny and sad, reflecting on getting older and being strong. Ann-Margret played Alan Arkin's character's lively and kind-hearted love interest, Annie Centauri. She added a touch of romance and life to the story. She gave a subtle but charming performance, which shows how long-lasting her screen presence and natural charm are. Even after many years since her first movie role, Going in Style got mixed reviews from critics. Some liked how light-hearted it was, while others thought it wasn't quite as good as the original. However, the movie was a big hit at the box office, especially with older people who liked how relatable the themes were and how great the cast was. The famous actress and singer Ann-Margret was loved by many for her lively personality and captivating screen presence. She was also a loving stepmother to 3 children from Roger Smith's first marriage. Roger Smith, who is also a very good actor, was an important person in Ann-Margret's life, as both her husband and her trusted manager for most of her career. They had a great partnership, both personally and professionally, that lasted 50 years, which is really amazing. On May 8, 1967, they got married and stayed together until Roger Smith died on June 4, 2017. In Hollywood, where relationships tend to end quickly, this marriage that lasted a long time stood out. The couple helped each other through different stages of their careers and personal problems. They had a strong bond and respected each other, which has stood the test of time. Before she met Roger Smith, Ann-Margret was in relationships with a number of well-known people, which shows how lively and complex she was as a person. Eddie Fisher, a famous singer and actor of the time, known for his smooth voice and charm, was one of her boyfriends. People were interested in their relationship because Fisher is well known in the entertainment business. Ann-Margret was also engaged for a short time to Burt Sugarman, who is a TV producer and media businessman. Even though the engagement didn't last long, it was another part of her early dating life. One of the most well-known and interesting relationships she had was with Elvis Presley, who is known as the King of Rock and Roll. Ann-Margret and Elvis were both in the 1964 movie Viva Las Vegas. Off-screen they became close friends, and some sources say their friendship may have had romantic overtones. Fans were captivated by their chemistry on and off-screen, and it's still an interesting part of pop culture history. In addition to her acting career and love life, Ann-Margret became deeply interested in motorcycle riding, which wasn't common for women in the 1960s, especially those who worked in show business. Her love of motorcycles wasn't just a hobby for her. It became an important part of her public image. In the 1966 movie The Swinger, she rode a 500cc Triumph T100C Tiger motorcycle, which made her known for being brave and daring. This model of motorcycle was used in both her live shows and her TV specials. To make it easier to use, she often had an electric starter added that wasn't standard, which showed how much she loved the sport. She had a deeper connection to Triumph motorcycles than just riding them. As early as the 1960s, she was shown in large in the company's official ads. These ads helped spread the word about the brand and the idea of women riding motorcycles. At that time, Ann-Margret was a leader in showing women's independence and empowerment, but her love of motorcycles also put her in danger. Ann-Margret had a bad accident in rural Minnesota in 2000 when she was thrown off her motorcycle. The crash caused 3 broken ribs and a fractured shoulder, which might have kept someone from working out if they weren't so determined. Even though her injuries were very bad, her strength showed, and she got better enough to keep living an active life. This event showed how fearless she was, and how she wouldn't let setbacks define her. Motorcycling was more than just a hobby for Ann-Margret. She did it to show how lively, daring, and unwilling to follow traditional gender roles for women, especially those in the spotlight, she was. Ann-Margret still won't watch Viva Las Vegas again, even though many of her fans think it's one of her most famous roles.